Welcome to the Bureau for Paranormal Research and Defense.
Where we get real with cult films. I'm your host Brian, and I'm here with my brother and co-host, my bro-host Thomas. Hello. This week we return from space, and we're back on Earth to investigate the paranormal as we discuss the Hellboy franchise. Do you want to start us off with the first adaptation of Hellboy?
Yeah, I'll just say one thing. I'm returning from space. You had time off.
That stops me returning how?
I didn't realise you went on there.
I took a detour. Right. I found my own way.
Alright, anyway. Hellboy 2004.
If there's trouble, all us freaks have is each other.
Written and directed by Guillermo del Toro, also written by Peter Briggs, and starring Ron Perlman as Hellboy himself, Doug Jones as Abe Sapien, and he's voiced by David Hyde Pierce, Selma Blair as Liz Sherman, John Hurt as Professor Broom, Rupert Evans as John Myers, Carol Roden as Grigori Rasputin, Bridget Hodson as Elsa Obstein, Ladislav Viren as Cronin, Jeffrey Tambor as Tom Manning. And this was on a budget of $66 million and grossed $99,378,985. Synopsis is a demon raised from infancy after being conjured by and rescued from the Nazis, grows up to become a defender against the forces of darkness. Anything to say about this?
Yeah. Of course, that's why we're here. Yeah, I quite enjoyed this film a lot. God, it seems like a lifetime ago since we first watched it.
20 years.
Because I'm not a big fantasy person. The only true fantasy thing I really like is Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Stuff like this, it feels grounded in it's like an urban fantasy sort of thing, like your John Constantine character and stuff like that. And
yeah,
it makes it more palatable for me.
I know what you mean.
But I can get behind fantasy when it's done like this. And I quite like the character of Hellboy, although I'm more drawn to Abe Sapien.
Yeah.
He just seems pretty cool.
He has a cool design, I think.
Yeah.
And the way he speaks and everything.
Yeah, but I mean, this has a great look. I wouldn't say Ron Perlman's unrecognisable. Strangely, you can still tell it's him.
To me, this is the most recognisable he's ever been. You say Ron Perlman, I picture this big red man with horns.
So yeah, I quite like the fact that you can still kind of see the man in the performance through all the makeup. And it's a brilliant job on makeup. Apparently, Hellboy's makeup consultant was Rick Baker, and he'd worked on Cursed, X-Men 3.
He did Beast.
Probably,
Beast good.
Planet of the Apes, the 2001 Tim Burton version.
That don't look too bad.
And the Men in Black, the first Men in Black.
Of course, this has quite a Men in Black feel to it.
Yeah, Rick Baker is also known for being an actor, but I don't think he's ever had any big parts. He normally plays like small parts, and on some of the films he's done the effects on, the makeup work.
Yeah.
And I believe that Matt Rose was their design consultant for Hellboy. He definitely was in the second one, and I think he's for this one as well.
Nice.
And I think it's a great design for Hellboy.
Yeah.
The look of it.
I'm going to say the look of every character. Like Abe, as you said, he's a great looking character, I think.
I mean, even just the creature work, because we've got a
Samael.
Yeah.
I think, you know.
Yeah, Samael. That like regenerative hellhoundy thing.
Yeah.
And that's played by Brian Steele.
Yeah.
And I think he returns on the next one, and he's a bit like your Doug Jones in a way. He normally does like big monster parts.
Yeah.
In suits and so on.
Marco Beltrami doing the music on this one.
Okay, I believe we've had him on before.
Yeah, I mentioned him frequently. Did the Wolverine, did Logan.
Yeah, I mean, the Logan score is great. Yeah. I couldn't really tell you what it is for the Wolverine.
Nah, he does this sort of Men in Black sounding sort of vibe, and that's kind of the vibe of this film, I guess.
Yeah, but it's more supernatural based.
Yeah, probably not.
Aliens.
Yeah, probably not.
Although I believe in the Men in Black comic, they investigate all of it.
Yeah. It's probably not as comedic as the Men in Black movies either.
No. In hindsight, I think that's a big downfall to the Men in Black film.
Yeah.
I like the story of this.
Yeah.
Because Hellboy's trying to investigate what's going on. We get a little glimpse of his backstory, and they don't particularly make a big deal about it, but it's because it's Rasputin behind his origins, and he's behind what's going on throughout this story.
Yeah.
I thought that was a kind of cool idea. But I like the fact that as Hellboy's investigating, he's taken a lot of losses on his journey.
Yeah.
It almost feels like he can't win.
Yeah.
Which I think is pretty cool. And I think the villains have a great bad guy on the side. Like, Rasputin's pretty cool anyway, but he's not really doing much. He's kind of actually working from the shadows, I guess.
Yeah, he's just walks back.
But we've got Cronin.
Yeah.
And he's like some sort of weird Nazi ninja that's now clockwork to keep himself going.
Yeah.
And there's a really great scene with, I think it's actually in the BPRD headquarters when he gets in there. That's a really good scene. And there's another great scene with him. Is it like a sewer tunnels or something?
Seems
They're
like
running
it.
around with
Like-
some BPRD agents and Hellboy. And that's a great scene for Cronin as well.
Yeah.
Also, apparently this is a 12A.
Yeah.
But we've got Hellboy smoking a massive cigar.
Yeah.
We see an autopsy.
Yeah.
Which is pretty grim for a 12A.
Yeah.
The fights are pretty visceral.
Yeah.
Not so much blood.
Bleeds in.
We get a bit of blood. Towards the end, he doesn't bleed early because he gets scratched and nothing comes from him. Because I was thinking, oh, these bloodless fights, it is a 12A. And then later he does end up bleeding. It's like, oh, okay. But I mean, like, how the creatures take damage, they're a bit gooey in a way, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're always seeping some sort of weird fluid out of them. And then we've got Nazis as well, which seems to be something you can't put in a 12A anymore.
Yeah.
Well, I don't believe so, because obviously Captain America First Avenger, he was supposed to be fighting Nazis, and they were like, no, it's just Hydra.
Yeah.
The whole Second War was just Hydra.
Yeah.
They just strip any sign of Nazis away, and it kind of undoes the Second War a little, I feel. But here, they don't even need to be Nazis anymore, because we've moved away from the war, 'cause it's contemporary setting. It's this era.
You got
Rasputin,
a Russian man
Yeah.
working with Germans.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't explain it here, but it does actually explain it in the graphic novel. It took things from Seed of Destruction, which I think was the first Hellboy story.
Yeah.
Well, he appeared in Next Men by John Byrne and Mike Mignola.
Yeah.
And then he got his own run in, I think, was it 94?
Yeah.
So it took 10 years to get this movie made. Not that it was in development that long, but
No.
it took 10 years to get a feature film from first appearing in comics, which I think is pretty decent.
Yeah. I think it was pitched in the late 90s.
That wouldn't surprise me.
I think Del Toro, said something about him wanting to do it
Yeah.
when he done...
Mimic?
Yeah, that's the one.
I need to rewatch Mimic.
Yeah, I don't remember it being great.
I like David Hyde Pierce as the voice of Abe in there. You said that is the voice. It's only this where he voices him.
Yeah.
And I understand why. He's not even credited because he was like, Doug Jones is doing a lot of the work.
Yeah.
And I mean, after that, Doug Jones does voice Abe.
Yeah.
Because there's the animated features between this and the Golden Army where
Yeah.
Doug Jones is voicing him. And I think that's great because apparently they asked Hyde Pierce to return for that, and that's where he said no.
Yeah, we watched on the special feature on TV and mentioned how David Hyde Pierce recorded a couple of lines, I think, and then he said...
but it was only like 6 lines or something like that, if that, for the whole film at that point.
Yeah, and he said, I don't see the point in me doing this. I didn't really play Abe. And Ron Perlman was the one that said, Doug Jones did a great job on set.
Yeah.
Just bring him in.
Because Doug Jones would have to be reading the lines on set for the actors to respond, I'm guessing, as well. So
I just think it's a shame they just didn't have Doug Jones do it in this
from the
one.
start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems as though he was practically doing it as well.
I don't know if it's intentional, but in the second one, he's obviously trying to emulate what Hyde Pierce was doing.
Yeah,
and
a good job with it.
Obviously, he has to now, I guess, because Hyde Pierce set
The voice.
Yeah, and it's a bit of a shame because I do wonder how Doug Jones would have done it if he could have done it from the start.
Yeah.
Because this film really brings a believable sound to what Abe Sapien sound like. Because Abe Sapien's not human; he's like a little fish man. For those that don't know,
I was about to say, we've gone on about how great he looks, but we've never said he's a fish man. A blue fish man.
Yeah, and they bring this voice to him that feels quite unique for his character and has him sound a little different to just a regular human. Yet when you read him in the comic, you don't know that he doesn't sound any different, if you know what I mean. So it's actually nice to have some sort of portrayal. So when you're reading the comic, you can then give it a voice in a more unearthly tone, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Because obviously he's not a human.
Yeah.
I think, to be honest, that's where adaptations are really good for. There's loads of Batman fans out there now that can't read Batman without it being Kevin Conroy's voice.
Yeah.
And, you know, that cartoon came out years after Batman was created.
Yeah.
And yet that's the voice everyone now has in their head.
Yeah.
And so, in a way, adaptations are quite important in that aspect, I think.
Yeah, it brings them to life in a way that you couldn't always possibly do it yourself.
Like, I don't know who set the bar for Spider-Man's movements, because when you read a Spider-Man comic, you just kind of get how he moves from how he's drawn.
Yeah.
Yet when you get it live action, for the most part, I don't agree with Tom Holland, but it's like, that's Spider-Man moving.
Yeah.
There's just something about it. And I don't know if it comes from the costume or the actual images on the page, but there's a lot of that added.
Yeah.
And I think a voice is a big part of that. So I think, although David Hyde Pierce is uncredited, I feel he's clearly set a bar of what Abe Sapien should sound like.
Oh, definitely.
And I think that's great.
Yeah.
Obviously, he said John Hurt is Broom in this, and he's like the father figure to Hellboy.
Yeah, he's great.
I mean, it's John Hurt. He's always great. I mean, you've just been talking about him in Alien 2 weeks ago, and from now, right?
Yeah, didn't really say much about him.
Yeah.
I don't believe.
But he's the guy with the chest burster.
Yeah, I know. He's one of the best parts in it. And he's one of the best
I
parts in
wonder how many times, because like you get John Hurt in your fantasy movie now,
Yeah.
but how hard would it be to not want to have like a weird, gooey fantasy creature just burst out his chest? Do you know what I mean?
They could have done it with this as well, because the males lay eggs.
Yeah.
Hellboy hasn't put in him one part, so it's just, why not? Why didn't they go?
He's like, his tongue was only on me for a couple of seconds, which comes from the comic Seed of Destruction, the first one. But they're like weird froggy people, and their tongue like paralyzes you.
Yeah.
But they've obviously found a way to make an original story by repurposing parts from that comic, and there's definitely more than that comic.
Yeah.
I've only read that one because I read it because I wanted to, ready for this podcast.
I read a thing with Mignola about the adaptation.
Yeah.
It's on about how he kind of respects the filmmaker's vision as well. 'Cause
Yeah.
he said that Del Toro came to him and said, I want to do the movie of Hellboy,
Yeah.
how he wants to do it. And certain things won't work on film that'd work on page.
I mean, that's
that
true.
sort of thing, which is fine. Obviously, he took inspiration from the comics and then changed them. And Mignola said it's fine to change them. It's a movie, and he don't mind that. He's got the comic books and they're
separate.
Yeah, I do agree with that. But yeah, Mignola was all about the new one coming out.
Yeah, because he's
Probably
worked a lot
already.
closer on that already.
Yeah, and he says they've written that, they've pretty much done like the comic books are, and he's quite happy with that one as a comic book adaptation.
Yeah, people are saying it looks cheap, but I know it's got a very low budget, which I've not looked up yet. But obviously, we're hoping to cover the new Hellboy, the Crooked Man, with a minisode.
Yeah.
If Cinema Nero's has actually played it.
Yeah.
It doesn't like it's got the same sort of wide release as the others.
No.
Which is expected, I guess. But it already looks like it's having a negative response from a lot of people.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to watching it though.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm looking forward to watching every Hellboy movie. This first movie made me a fan of Hellboy.
Yeah. Kind of funny that the new Hellboy has links to Del Toro, because the actor they've cast to play Hellboy is a reoccurring character through Del Toro's The Strain TV series adaptation.
Yeah.
I thought that was a bit funny.
This movie made me a fan of Hellboy, really.
Yeah, it's got a great aesthetic. The design of how it brings this fantasy into the world and it feels urban.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also very obvious it's the guy that did Blade 2.
Yeah.
Because he makes that work as well. But Blade had already been set up.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe without the first Blade, we wouldn't even get this.
No. I just find it funny because I remember when this was coming out and I wanted to see it. I didn't get to see it in cinemas.
Yeah.
I did get it on DVD.
And I think they've got it several times on DVD.
Yeah. I remember it coming out because I remember thinking it looked good. I didn't even know it was a comic book movie. There's a lot of odd films like this where they come out or I learn about it and I go, I want to watch that, and I learn it was a comic book, and there's I've always been drawn to these comic book movies. I just find it a bit odd.
This has something many comic book films that follow has, and I don't know which the first comic book movie is to have it. I'm still hoping to find that. It features a damn skybeam. It's not even necessary.
No.
It's really not. And that scene is actually in the comic to an extent.
Yeah.
And there's no skybeam there where you would maybe expect one. I don't know why when they do these films they think, we should just send a beam just never ending into the sky.
Yeah.
And it serves no real purpose. It doesn't exactly look cool. I just don't get it. I'm glad the skybeam seems to be a trope that's dropped from comic book films and sci-fi.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't seen one in a while.
No.
Well, I have. I saw one when I watched this, but in recent films, they just really bother me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just the frequency of them. There's so many. I wonder if somebody's even compiled a list of them all, because I'd be curious to see just how many films it appears in.
I'm trying to think.
I mean, is it '07, the animated Turtles movie?
Yeah.
That even has one.
Yeah.
Again, why?
They look cool.
They don't.
Someone thinks they look cool. I don't know who it is, but for some reason in my head it's the same producer, and he's just always there. You need a skybeam.
I mean, it really wouldn't surprise me if it is a weird producer's note. Trying to think what the earliest example is, but no, off the top of my head, I can only think of this one, and it's infuriating because I know there's dozens and dozens of skybeams in films.
Do an episode of the history of the skybeam.
Obviously, they changed some things from the comics.
Yeah.
Broom's death, different. The story itself is very different.
Yeah.
Yeah, they changed some things from the comics, which is expected. And I've read Seed of Destruction already because I've not read any Hellboy. I think you've read the first book.
Yeah, I'd see Destruction and Wake the Devil.
Yeah, and I'm guessing he's pulling from some other areas to adapt this.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot more in the story to pad out. Because that first story is only 4 issues and it's very tight.
Yeah.
There's not much wiggle room for much else.
Yeah.
It's a very simple investigate, solve it.
Yeah.
kind of thing. And
That is pretty much what Hellboy comics are.
yeah.
They're quite simple.
And so for a feature film, I guess it's expected to make it a little bigger. And
Yeah.
the core story's still there. They've just wedged other things into lengthen lengthen it, other scenes and so on.
Yeah, I think it
looks pretty cool.
Stuff from Chained Coffin.
Oh, because he's got the corpse on his back.
Yeah, the resurrected corpse and telling him where to go.
Kiss her off up the mountain to find Rasputin.
Yeah, so he resurrects like half a corpse, puts it on his back, and off they go.
Yeah,
that's quite a good bit, I think.
Definitely. You read that, well, I think she's credited as Biddy now. Biddy Hodson.
Yeah.
Plays Ilsa.
Yeah.
What a pointless role.
Yeah, she don't really do much.
She's barely in the film. But, like, she's not terrible in it.
No.
But it's such a small part. But then, like, her career's not really gone anywhere.
No.
I forgot what she was in before that. I've made note. I think she was a British actress.
Yeah, she's British.
If I'm right, this was filmed in Prague.
Yeah.
And I wondered where it was filmed because I was pretty sure it went to the UK. But there was too many British actors appearing in just small parts and stuff that it couldn't be America for that.
No.
But you've got to compliment Guillermo Navarro, the cinematographer on this, and I think he returns for Hellboy 2.
Yeah, he works with Del Toro quite a lot.
Yeah, because he really captures a nice sort of grungy fantasy look in this film.
Yeah.
There's like a weird grungy aesthetic, I think, from this. Which I guess maybe owes itself to The Crow. Yeah. Maybe. Because obviously that set a precedent for changing Blade.
Yeah.
Of how he's portrayed for film.
Yeah, I suppose. Long jackets and stuff.
Yeah.
No, Hellboy already had the long jacket.
Yeah. But the leather trousers. I mean, there was no need for the leather trousers, right? They're horrible.
I'd rather him wear shorts.
What, leather shorts? That's weirder than leather trousers.
Just shorts.
Right.
Just shorts that he wears in the comics.
Right. Okay. I don't believe they're leather. Right. But just the shorts. You don't believe they're leather. So in the comics somewhere it says he's wearing leather shorts. So you're like, I don't believe they're leather. That's exactly the dialogue. It's like, Hellboy, look at you in your weird leather shorts. And you're like, I don't believe they're leather.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't even think they're leather trousers, are they, in the first Hellboy? They have more of a like PVC look.
Nah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's vile. The trousers are... Everything else is pretty cool, but those trousers can get out of there.
You wanted to see Ron Perlman, it's just his tighty white.
Strangely, yeah, it would probably be better look than those PVC trousers. I mean, it's a good way of getting around of having to do any weird stuff with his legs, makeup-wise, isn't it? So it just keeps it torso to be done.
Yeah.
His hand is a great thing on this as well. Apparently very lucky that Ron Perlman's left-handed.
Yeah.
So he could have the right hand.
Yeah, because they were on about possibly changing hand, and he was like, no, I'm left-handed.
Yeah, that way he could still
use his gun.
Yeah, his gun, I'm assuming, it's not said in the comic. Because he's got like a massive, like, bolstered revolver.
Yeah. They call it the Samaritan in the movie.
Yeah, but it comes from the Torch of Liberty.
Yeah.
It's called. He looks like a 40s superhero. And he's got like a weird torch symbol in his thing, and he holds this massive revolver. And he's there when Hellboy comes out the little portal that Rasputin summons.
Yeah.
But they get rid of him in the film.
Unnecessary.
Yeah. And then later in the comic, Hellboy mentions that his pistol came from the Torch of Liberty. And I wonder if there's some sort of special ability with his revolver. Like, it must be more than just a regular revolver, because it doesn't look like your standard revolver.
Nah.
It looks real hefty.
Yeah.
Which is great, because it has to fit this hefty Hell Demon now. Also, when does he become Hellman? He's Hellboy. He's been around for, 60 years by this point in the first film? And they still call him Hellboy. I mean, I think they do say somewhere he ages, in reverse of dog years or something.
Something like that. I can't remember now. But I know his mentality,
teenager,
is always, his body's like of a man.
Makes you wonder, though, is he actually going to get any bigger? Because he's already quite a big bloke. Yeah, they don't bother trying to explain his pistol.
Nah.
Which, after reading the comic, I'd quite like to see it. Like a little backstory of Torch of Liberty.
Yeah.
I'm assuming he dies somewhere for the fact Hellboy has his gun.
Yeah.
So the comic already spoils that little set when it comes. Its first outing. And then I think we'll get to it anyway when we discuss the reboot, but they obviously replace the Torch of Liberty with another character from the comics.
Oh, yeah.
Is there any more you want to say about Hellboy? We should probably talk about Rupert Evans, right?
I was just about to say, Rupert Evans' character, John Miner's, made up for this movie.
Most characters are made up for films, though. He's not special in that sense.
I know, but there were many other characters they could have possibly used for this role, and for some reason they went, let's just not have a comic book guy.
It's like we'll create a guy, and he can act as the audience way of being introduced to Hellboy.
But I'll be honest, I don't feel he's necessary.
No.
He's an alright character, and Rupert Evans plays it well, but he's really unnecessary.
Also, they seem very hell-bent on adding a love triangle into this dynamic.
Oh yeah, something that's not even in the comic books.
I don't believe so.
Mainly because Myers isn't in the comics, but this is irrelevant to that as well.
Yeah.
Liz, they've randomly decided that her and Hellboy were romantically involved, and I don't really know why. That was a Del Toro thing.
Yeah, probably.
He wanted to add in a love story, and he said it'll be like Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
But in the...
Which is she's like Ron Perlman played the Beast. Yeah. In
late 80s TV series.
Yeah. With Linda Hamilton as Beauty. Yeah. Or was she the Beast? I've not seen that adaptation, so I don't know. Because she had some big biceps by the time she'd done T2. Don't make her a beast, Brian. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why Del Toro wanted to love story added. It's always felt wedged in for me. I've never liked this part of the story.
It also just feels like it's bogging the plot down a little.
Yeah.
Like, you could easily remove it, probably tighten the movie to what, an hour and a half?
Yeah.
Without it?
Yeah.
What is the length of the first one?
2 hours.
Okay, you could maybe get it to an hour 45.
Yeah, because it's really not necessary.
Yeah.
And it really does bring the film down, because I just don't even see it as believable. And it's not even because he's a big hell man.
No. But no, John Mayer's character is like that innocent detective role that you normally get in the cop dramas where they're bringing this rookie kind of thing. He's like that. He's playing that sort of role, isn't he? That he's like, I'm by the book.
Yeah.
And then by the end, he's like, I'm with Hellboy.
I don't really feel he adds much to the film either.
No, it would really work without him, because there's already another cast of agents and stuff, because there's one that Hellboy seems to know quite well because he's teasing him about his hair plugs.
Yeah, Agent Clay.
Yeah.
Corey Johnson plays him. I didn't mention him, but yeah, he's a good character.
Yeah.
Hellboy just teases him throughout, though.
For me as well, with Hellboy, I think it was pretty cool that the creatures feel a little Lovecraftian.
Yeah.
H.P. Lovecraft, which is apparently an inspiration in the comics, because that Seed of Destruction that I read, there's like a mention of him from Mignola, like a thanks to him or something like that. I can't remember now, but he's also credited for the inspiration.
Yeah.
So it is nice that the films are taking that, because I know Del Toro is a Lovecraft fan anyway.
Yeah.
He's always got sort of Lovecraftian creature designs and that sort of story elements in his films, but he was also trying to do Mountains of Madness, which was going to be a very Lovecraftian story.
Yeah.
And that sounds like a great story. In fact, he was talking about that in that Comic-Con panel where they were talking about the animated movies.
Yeah.
Because he was saying that he was trying to get that as an animated movie if they're not going to do it live action.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, he really doesn't mind having animated projects, because the animated Hellboy movies, they're produced by Del Toro.
Yeah.
Then they use his cast.
Yeah.
Is there any more you want to say about this Hellboy?
I mentioned the writer, Peter Briggs.
Yes,
Did you look at him up?
I did, but I've not written anything next to it.
He didn't really have anything, did he?
I don't know. I'm guessing not if I've not wrote anything.
I found it weird. I actually looked him up, but he got his name in the early 90s.
Is that when he was born?
And no.
That's when I got my name.
Right, whatever. But he wrote a script for Alien vs. Predator.
All right.
In the early 90s.
Yeah.
This is what got the ball rolling on Alien vs. Predator. But for some reason, they didn't want to use his script.
Yeah.
I don't know why. And then he hasn't really done anything but this movie.
Oh.
And an episode of Thunderbirds I Go, like 11 years later. That's all.
So the reboot of Thunderbirds.
Yeah, that's all his writing credit on IMDb. But apparently he's worked with Kenneth Branagh on a lot of stuff. But for some reason, apparently he's uncredited.
I wonder if he's one of them guys that touch up scripts.
Yeah, I'm guessing.
Or people take his scripts when he's written them and then he loses his name on them.
And apparently he wrote a Judge Dredd script that was to be done with Tony Scott and Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Schwarzenegger as Judge Dredd?
Yeah.
Any idea of what year this would be? Would this be before the Stallone one?
I'm guessing it could have been, yeah.
And this is why Stallone ended up being Judge Dredd, because obviously it's when he's still in competition with Arnold.
Yeah. But apparently this guy wrote a script for X-Men, a script for Iron Man, and was asked to write Freddy vs. Jason as well, and a draft for Hellraiser. So he's had all these like recognizable, and it all came from this Alien vs. Predator script that never.
But it was clearly good because everyone was like, "We should make this."
Yeah,
and then it's like, "Hey, that guy wrote a really good AVP script. Let's see what else he'll write for us."
Yeah, and then they just seem to go like, "Hey, the guy wrote a great script for something. We want to make it, but not use that script." I don't know.
I think he writes scripts and it's like, we can't actually afford that.
Maybe.
Or it's like, that's great on the page. No, I've read it. I feel like I don't need to see it.
But I have a feeling that, he might have wrote a script for Hellboy, but then Del Toro came on and said, well, this is what I want to do with Hellboy, and pretty much rewrote the whole thing, but this guy still probably kept credit on it due to whatever reason.
Which is rare it happens with all his other scripts.
Yeah. I just found it really odd.
Yeah, that is quite interesting. Poor guy.
Yeah. I do have another note, and it's from near the end of the movie, because I don't know why Manning, played by Jeffrey Tambor, goes with him at the end.
I assumed it was just for laughs.
I'm guessing it's played for laughs when Cronin swipes his swords at him, and his response is, what do you think you're doing?
Yeah. You don't get Jeffrey Tambor in to do serious. I've only seen a little panel of him or two in the Seeds of Destruction. He's not a very big part, and he's apparently a doctor in that as well.
Yeah.
But like, if I was casting him, I wouldn't go like, get me Jeffrey Tambor.
No.
I don't know if he was asked for this role or if he actually auditioned for it or what, but like from what I've seen Jeffrey Tambor in, it seems very outside the box for him.
Yeah, I just think what a strange response. Like, was Cronin not supposed to attack him maybe, and Jeffrey Tambor just reacted and it was a natural response? So that's my thinking. Such a bizarre, like I don't know why.
It's weird that he has to be there at all.
I didn't know why he was there anyway, other than to have arguments with Hellboy that never happened earlier.
Hellboy has some weird wire work near the end as well. Yeah, the bridge is falling and he's running, and then he's running on nothing, like Scooby-Doo.
Yeah. Not just that, but that scene don't make much sense anyway. Because you get the door closing, he throws Manning through, and then it shows you the door nearly closed.
Yeah.
And then you get that weird bit that you're on about.
Yeah.
And then Hellboy jumps through and the door is higher than where it was.
Them scenes, the continuity of the height of the door when they're supposed to be closing and somebody gets under, the continuity of that when it breaks, it really infuriates me. It happens so many times. It's so simple to fix. Just don't have the door start closing as fast or as early as you do.
Yeah.
That bothers me.
It should have been Hellboy running. Shows you the door. Hellboy running again. Jumps under.
Yeah.
That's all you needed.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah.
Any more you want to say about this?
I've said it all on this one, I think.
Do you want to briefly talk about the animated ones that pop between? Or just say that they were made between?
We'll just go on about them briefly.
I don't have time for this.
They're based on the comic books again.
But they're also doing their own thing.
Yeah, they take inspiration from storylines, expand on them and things like that. They did 2 of them. They teased a 3rd one. What are they called? Sword of Storms was the first one from 2006, which was written and directed by Ted Stones and co-directed by Phil Weinstein and co-written by Matt Wayne. And Blood and Iron was the next one from 2007, which again was written and directed by Ted Stones, but this time co-directed by Victor Cook and co-written by Kevin Hart. And they're not in relation to the movie at all. Some people seem to think they are because it uses the cast.
Yeah, which is a nice touch, I think.
Yeah, Ron Perlman, Doug Jones, Selma Blair, and even John Hurt is in Blood and Iron.
And what, hour 10?
Yeah,
something
like that. And I think they're really good.
I really like them, and I think they're a little more in keeping with the comics after reading that now than what the films are.
Yeah, they're, to me, the best.
Although I guess animated it allows, because they've got that look.
Yeah.
Also, in that Comic-Con panel, which was on one of the discs for these that we were watching, because it was about these, really, weren't it?
Yeah.
They were saying, I think it was in the licensing, Hellboy's not allowed to look the same. Do you remember him saying that?
I remember him saying that he has to look different in
every adaptation or something, or every incarnation or something like that. And I found that quite interesting. So they had a lot of concept artists come in and like redesign Hellboy for them.
Yeah, you had some pretty cool ones.
Because one was almost Johnny Bravo, Johnny Cage sort of cool.
Yeah.
Like little cigar in mouth, t-shirt on.
Yeah, too chill.
Really lean, like a Brad Pitt Fight Club sort of thing. And
more
hair. bit too cool and human, I guess.
Yeah.
That design made me laugh, but I found that quite an interesting comment on there. And they were saying how they were also trying to somehow look what makes Mignola's art Mignola, so they could copy that to an extent.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff said about it.
I quite like these. I'm quite sad actually because they announced 3.
Yeah,
there's actually a teaser for the 3rd one on
Blood and Iron.
Yeah, in the end credits.
Yeah,
and that would have been Lobster Johnson.
Yeah,
one of your favourite characters. Apparently a fan favourite character.
I love Lobster Johnson. Yeah, I don't know what it is about Lobster Johnson, but he's a great character.
Yeah,
the animated movies I think are the best Hellboy movies.
Yeah, for some reason Sword of Storms is my favourite, and that goes into like Japanese mythology and folklore and stuff.
Yeah, that was something they'd never done. In Hellboy, apparently.
Yeah, but you prefer Blood and Iron, which was vampires.
Yeah,
and I think that had some elements from what I read in Seed of Destruction.
I think so, but it also takes from...
Well, it's taken from several. They're just picking here and there, aren't they?
Yeah, again, they take stuff from some of the short stories, because there's short stories in Hellboy.
I like the character designs.
Yeah, they're more like the comic books as well.
Well, they can be, can't they, I guess? You can't have a weird disproportionate eye with tiny legs, like Hellboy in live action.
Nah. And I think Liz is better in the animated movies than what she is in the Del Toro films.
There's Del Toro films, though, like you said, she
do tied into the relationship.
She feels more like a trophy for Hellboy to win, especially in the first film.
Yeah.
Like that love interest that you have to win over by doing an heroic act. And then in the second film, it's just, they're having a bit of a fight at the beginning. And I guess we'll get into that when we talk about the second film.
Well, in these, I feel like she is just her own character.
If you, stands on her own. And I'd say if you do like any of the Hellboy films, them animated ones are worth checking out if you've never seen them.
Yeah.
But they're worth watching anyway.
Yeah.
They're easy to find. I think you can pick them up on a Blu-ray quite cheap in a twin pack now.
Yeah.
They also came with their own little comics inside the DVD sleeves because you got the DVDs from the time.
Yeah, I've had them quite a few years.
So they're definitely worth seeing if you don't mind watching animated features.
Because I remember watching them, even at the time, I thought these are the best Hellboy movies.
Yeah.
I didn't really know anything about the comics then.
Yeah.
I knew there were comics.
Yeah.
There was something about them and I just felt more like what I imagined the comics to be what I'd seen from images, and after reading comic books, I thought, yeah, they are more like that. So
Yeah. Also, if you like the Hellboy films, don't just check out the animated features. If you fancy them, pick up a comic.
Yeah.
There's plenty to go at because they're always a mini-series. It's never an ongoing. They're almost like standalone stories. It's rare one really ties to another.
Yeah.
And if it does, it seems like it would explain itself or work as its own through its own merits. But
you get them set at different time periods, from like the 70s, 80s, stuff like that. So
and then there's not just Hellboy. Abe Sapien got his own spin-off if he's a character you like.
Yeah, BPRD had their...
BPRD just had their own of like, I'm guessing that's more X-Files like, but with ghoulies and ghosts and stuff. Lobster Johnson got his own.
Yeah, he did.
And there's another one I can't think what now.
There's quite a few. A nice little universe to delve into.
Yeah.
You don't have to read it all, I don't think.
It's a shame because I think a while back, Humble Bundle did like a donate thing for a charity cause. I can't remember what the cause was, but you got like a massive amount of Hellboy and Hellboy universe related graphic novels digitally. And if that Humble Bundle was still going, I would have linked it in the show's description just for those that were interested. Anyway, shall we move to
The Golden Army?
Yeah. So it's now 2008. It's Hellboy 2, The Golden Army.
The Golden Army, the unstoppable force.
Oh, crap.
Made on a budget of $85 million and grossing $168,319,248. This one is written and directed by Guillermo del Toro. Mike Mignola has a writing credit on this one as well, I believe.
Yep.
And the synopsis, as IMDb has it, is a prince of the mythical world starts a rebellion against humanity in order to rule the earth. Hellboy and his team must fight to stop him from locating the all-powerful Golden Army. The cast: Ron Perlman's Hellboy, Selma Blair is Liz Sherman, Doug Jones is now the body of and voice of Abe Sapien, also has another small character part of the Angel of Death later in the film. Then we've got 3 actors now, I believe, playing Johann Kraus. We've got John Alexander and James Dodd being the body, and then we've got Seth MacFarlane of Family Guy fame, I guess, doing the voice, which he apparently based on Jeremy Irons from Die Hard 3.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Then we've got Luke Goss from Bros as Prince Nuada, Anna Walton as Princess Nuala. That's his sister, if you didn't pick up on the Princess thing. They're twins. And Jeffrey Tambor returns as Tom Manning. And then we've got Brian Steele playing Wink, which is like a beast character that's working with Prince Nuada. And he has a few other characters he plays. He plays a spy shop troll, Fraggle Wump, and Cathedral Head. And I think 2 of them are in the same scene, not sharing the scene. It's where they go to the weird undercover market thing.
Yeah.
About halfway, I would guess.
Yeah. Still with its Men in Black feel.
Definitely on this one, because isn't this one where they bring Danny Elfman
Yeah.
to score, who did the Men in Black theme?
Yeah. It's like, hey, we wanted that Men in Black-esque music. Let's go get it.
Oh, never mentioned it on the first film. You get like opening credits, but there's no credits.
Yeah, names.
Yeah, and apparently the poster for the film didn't have any cast names.
No.
And Hellboy 2 did the same.
Right.
There was no cast names on the poster, which I don't know why.
It's just pretty cool and interesting.
Yeah.
Look at the big helmet.
It reminded me because when we mentioned Men in Black, I just realised that it was when the credits started on the first film. You're like, I think they're trying to go for a Men in Black theme.
Yeah.
And then the second one opens and it's like, they're doing it again. And then Danny Elfman's name came up and you're like, they definitely wanted that Men in Black theme.
Yeah.
I don't think this is as good as the first, and I feel like some people think it's better.
And a lot of people think it's better. It's the highest rated on IMDb. It made more money than any of them. It doubled its budget with the gross.
Yeah.
I'm kind of shocked. I don't know why. I just I think Del Toro had a bigger fan base by this point now.
Probably.
Labyrinth.
Yes, which is a phenomenal film.
I'm not keen. Well, I'm not a big fan of Del Toro, really.
How dare you? He did Devil's Backbone.
The Strain and Hellboy are my favourite.
Strain is my favourite thing by far he's done, but the TV series, not the books that he wrote first off. Well, he co-wrote the books, but it was all his idea, and he had like an actual author help write them with him.
Anyway, this movie, did you say story by Mike Mignola?
I believe so, yeah.
Because I'm quite shocked about that, to be fair. They apparently worked on the story, but Mike Mignola, it sounds like he just kind of let Del Toro do more of his own thing.
Yeah.
They just kind of worked on this a bit.
Yeah, because it sounds like he's not particularly happy with this film.
No.
I can't think what he said, but
he said that he'd spent months working on it, like on set and things like that with Del Toro.
Yeah.
And discussions about it, but it sounds like a lot of what he said weren't really heard or taken in advice from him all the time. So he kind of let Del Toro do more of his own thing, and he said that by the end of it, it felt more like he'd wasted time trying to work on this film when he could have been
writing more comics.
Yeah, and focusing more on them than what it was. He mentioned dropped plot lines for this film, though, when he was in the comic
Oh, yeah.
panel.
Because some of them were exploring Japanese mythology.
Yeah, because he liked the Japanese mythology, and that's why the animated movies did them.
Yeah, and then I think he's actually done comics around that since.
Most likely. It sounds like that was something he found interesting in himself. But yeah, this one's really not as good for me either.
For me, it's too fantasy.
I know what you mean. The comics carry more Lovecraftian elements and horror, and they're a bit darker and moodier in a way.
But this felt just almost straight up fantasy.
Yeah, elves.
I'm surprised there weren't realms. Also, the king elf, when we see him, it looks like he's got like a weird tree growing out his head. None of the other elves have that. And I think it's supposed to be a crown, but it doesn't look like a crown because it looks organic to his skull. And I don't like that either.
Yeah. And then they turn to, as you put it, white chocolate.
Yeah, when they die, they look like white chocolate.
Yeah.
I'm all for that. I'll kill an elf right now for some white chocolate.
Yeah.
Oh, and this time we get a little love story for A.B. Sapiens.
Yeah.
Abraham Sapien gets his own little love story.
Yeah, with the princess.
Yeah. The one with Abe, though, I feel works a lot more than Hellboy and Liz for me.
Hellboy and Liz has always just felt like a tacked on thing.
Yeah.
Never feels natural. The actors don't seem to be able to help it pull through. Abe and the princess they meet and they seem to like have a little bit of a bond.
Yeah.
And
Well, they're both slightly psychic as well, aren't they? They do
Yeah.
the touching hands thing.
Yeah.
This version of Abe's psychic. I don't know if he's in the comic. He didn't really do anything psychic in what I read.
No.
What I do find particularly weird, though, is most people say Del Toro is attentive to detail.
Yeah.
Very early on, that detail is failed.
Yeah.
The tooth fairies.
Oh, yeah. I really hate
They take
this
on a
scene.
swarm of tooth fairies. They get
Yeah.
told they eat the teeth first.
Yeah.
Then we see many corpses taken out by the tooth fairies.
Yeah.
Their teeth are still in the skulls.
Yeah.
And when they start attacking Hellboy, Liz, and Abe and the other agents, they're not going for the teeth. They're just gnawing at them anywhere.
Yeah.
And that really bothers me.
I remember watching it first time and I thought this is probably the best scene of the film.
Yeah.
And then the more I've watched it 2 or 3 times since,
Yeah.
and that scene, it's become like the worst part
Yeah.
of the film for me because of this. Because you see the corpses on the floor,
Yeah.
they're just skeletons.
Yeah.
It's like Abe,
And their teeth are still there.
not just that, but Abe says it's the teeth first because that's like the
That's
closest thing to bone on show.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
and they want the bone. The
Yeah.
bones are all there. They took the flesh. They didn't care for the bone. Abe, you lied to us.
Yeah. They're flesh fairies. Remember to put your flesh under the pillow for the flesh fairy.
Oh, sounds horrible.
One of my favourite parts in this fight scene, and it's between Hellboy and Wink.
Yeah.
I think it's just after Abe has an encounter with Wink, and then Hellboy fights him.
Yeah, the little Abe encounter's pretty cool.
Wink's pretty cool. He's like a big bluish sort of creature, and Hellboy's got his like rock hand, I guess. But this Wink creature's got like a steel, almost like a mace, like on a chain. He like winches it out.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty cool. Apparently, he's named Wink as well after one of Selma Blair's pets when she was a girl or something.
Which is just weird.
Yeah. And I mentioned about Doug Jones playing a second character with the Angel of Death.
Yeah.
That creature design is very Pan's Labyrinth.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, very Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah. I feel like Del Toro got off doing Pan's Labyrinth and then he just got obsessed with those sort of
I
creatures.
kind of feel actually that the Angel of Death, its design, if not its name as well, was created for Pan's Labyrinth,
Yeah.
and he couldn't fit it in anywhere in that film, and he thought, I'll find a way for Hellboy 2.
Yeah, probably.
Because it's a very tacked in little scene as well. I don't feel that scene, I mean, it leads us further along the plot, but they could have probably got there without needing that character or scene.
Yeah. There's quite a few bits like that in this one, I feel.
Yeah.
It's not a bad film by any means. It's just not as good as the other ones.
Yeah. Also, Del Toro turned down a few films to make this.
Yeah.
Turned down Halo, because Peter Jackson was approached to do Halo.
Yeah.
But then apparently asked Del Toro, and Del Toro was like, nah, I'm making Hellboy 2.
Yeah.
He also turned down I Am Legend,
Yeah.
which I can't imagine what that would have been like if he'd have made it. I don't know if it was for better or worse. He hasn't made it. One Missed Call and one of the Harry Potter films, Half-Blood Prince. I don't have a clue which number film that is or what happens in it. I've never seen it. I'll never watch it.
No, same. I think he did right by making Hellboy, going on a lot of them suggestions.
Yeah. I'm curious what his I Am Legend would have been like, though.
A little, yeah. But at the end of the day, even Hellboy 2, I'm not keen on it. It doesn't help either that the subtitles, The Golden Army.
I know.
You get to The Golden Army, they're not that good.
They're just big gold spherical things that glow red.
Yeah, I don't like them.
No, I'm not a big fan.
People like Del Toro's designs on things. These are probably the worst design thing I've seen.
Yeah, but it also stems from Del Toro's love of clockwork. He liked clockwork.
Oh, yeah.
Chronos.
Yeah. He loves the big dogs in this movie as well.
Well, he actually made that little set, apparently. That's a pretty cool part, so
At the
that's
same
pretty cool.
time.
Yeah. Hellboy outs the BPRD. He purposely makes a scene on the news.
Yeah.
But what I do like is the reporter that gets to interview Hellboy at one part in the film. It's Ron Perlman's daughter,
Right.
which I thought was a cool little cameo, I guess. Blake Perlman, I think she's called.
Right, didn't know that.
No, you do. Strangely, another part I like in this film, and I don't think you'll agree, but I think it really fits Hellboy's character of like that teenager sort of thing. Because obviously, Abe Sapien's fallen for the princess Noala.
Yeah.
And it's when he gets drunk with Hellboy and they're singing Can't Smile Without You. I find that quite funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it starts quite well as well because Hellboy hears that music coming from Abe's like dorm or whatever it's called. And he goes through and Abe's clearly changed the track to a classical piece.
Yeah.
And Hellboy's like, what were you playing? He's like, this. And it's like an album of love songs. Yeah, I think it's just quite an endearing scene and like just kind of adds to their character.
Yeah.
Like you actually get that Hellboy isn't a truly emotionally developed person, I think, there. But he's still very like young man kind of thing. And Abe's never really experienced this sort of emotion before. So he's quite naive about it and innocent. And I think that's kind of cool. And it just added a little bit of depth to the characters. Which if this was an ongoing series, like an actual TV series or a few more movies, I think they could have been like quite a pivotal scene into their character development.
Yeah, probably. I've always been a bit surprised when they said that there was wanting to do a third one.
Yeah.
This to me always just kind of felt rather final.
I feel there's a lot of weird humour thrown into this as well.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the scene where Kraus beats up Hellboy with the lockers.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of that.
No.
I think he could have found a more interesting way of doing it.
Yeah.
But it's just played for laughs instead. Because I quite like Kraus's character, what we see of him.
Yeah, but he don't really do much. He don't really add much to the film.
No.
They really need him at the end, though, don't they?
Yeah. And no, because I think Liz does it all.
Yeah.
Because Liz, like, does nothing throughout the whole film.
You've got the bit near the beginning where you get Hellboy and her introduced and the door goes flying down the hallway.
Yeah. Almost kills Manning and Abe.
Yeah. That was played for laugh.
Yeah.
I personally thought it was a work hazard and she should be fired.
She should be fired.
Yeah.
I thought it was Hellboy that threw the door.
She blasts the door if it's...
Oh, right. I've always thought it was supposed to be Hellboy and Alex to argue.
No, Hellboy comes flying out as well. He gets blasted back. Stupid scene.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan. And then obviously, like, to spoil the end, kind of, they then quit BPRD, all of them. Yeah. Even Kraus. And that feels quite concluding to the franchise as a whole. So to even want a third after that seems a bit weird.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you can't make a third film, but it sounds like, from what I've read, that the third film was more going to be about Hellboy and Liz with their twins.
Yeah.
Where they would have had elements of them.
That doesn't interest me.
And it's like, where's the actual story here, though?
Yeah.
I don't want to see Hell Dad.
Yeah. It just didn't interest me.
I actually want to see the, like, I guess, big budget Cthulhian X-Files stuff with a demon man exploring it and a fish boy. I mean,
why is it a demon man and a fish boy? A Hellboy and a fish man.
You get my point.
Yeah.
I don't hate this movie. I don't dislike this movie. I do quite like this movie.
Yeah.
I never really get a craving to watch it.
Yeah. When you go on about the good points in this movie, it's always like the same like 3 moments you like mentioned. So it's not like the first one where it's like, oh, I could watch that. I love that bit. I love that bit. I love this character.
Yeah.
It's like...
The first Hellboy, it's one of them, I think, where it's like, I like this scene, and then the next scene comes on, it's like, oh, I like this scene, and then the next scene, and you just like that throughout the whole film, and then the film's end, it's like, I actually like this whole film. I thought I just liked a few things.
This one, you kind of go like, all right, that's my favourite bit. It's done. I can turn off now.
It's a shame because the performances from him, to be fair, are really good.
Yeah.
I just don't think the story is great. I can see some people really liking this story, especially when it's come out post Lord of the Rings and no one's got any elves anymore on film.
Yeah, then people really like Lord of the Rings. All they want to do is see elves.
Well, I feel that's all about it for a lot of them. Like, oh, Lord of the Rings, that big fantasy stuff, and they just like the fantasy elements. And
there's not much I really like about it. And I don't have a problem with Selma Blair as an actress or anything.
Yeah.
I really don't think she's got much to work with in these films other than be Hellboy's love interest. And look, use your powers now at the end. She's had the same plot line in both films.
Yeah. I will say, though, nothing cast related. Matt Rose, he was the design consultant for Hellboy in this, and I believe he's actually the designer on the first, the actual makeup designer for what Hellboy should look like, and on this is the design consultant. He died in 2019.
Right.
It makes you wonder if the idea of a Hellboy reboot finished him off. I don't know what killed him. I maybe shouldn't know. But he worked for a company called Cinovation, and he was a sculptor on 1997's Batman and Robin.
Nice.
A film very close to my heart.
It's a great film.
I just wanted to note that he was a sculptor on that film.
Yeah.
Because that's got some good model work in it, Batman and Robin.
Oh yeah, great looking film. Unlike this. No, this is a good looking film. It's just always seen it as a bit of a sad follow-up to the previous one. I don't feel they're close in tone. They don't deliver what you want from by after.
No, I know what you mean. But I guess he maybe didn't want to do the same again.
Yeah. I like the idea of them doing their own story for a Hellboy film. I think that's fine. I think it offers a lot to do that, but this story it's not good.
No, also, when we say the Golden Army, I forgot who it was that was going to make the Golden Army for the elves in the little flashbacky bit that we get. And it said that there's going to be 70 times 70 soldiers.
Yep.
So that's 4,900 soldiers. And then Hellboy at the end and his little team are going to fight all 4,700 of these soldiers that seem to be able to regenerate. I think it was a losing battle.
Yeah.
But luckily they found a shortcut and won.
Yeah.
I also find it weird that, like, couldn't one of them have just put on the crown, or does it only work on elves? Or, like, I don't remember.
I think I explained it, but in the end of the day, I didn't really care much for it. I didn't really like the Golden Army storyline. I like some of the things around it.
Yeah.
For me, the overall story could have been anything. Like what the villain was going to do. I don't really like what the Golden Army is.
No.
They just didn't interest me. You just wanted a Golden Army to take over the
I
world.
also don't just like that the Golden Army are just these big weird gold spheres. I don't like the fact that they glow.
No.
They've got a weird red glow coming from them. Unless obviously Kraus possesses it and then it goes blue, just so you know it's a good one and he's inside.
Yeah. Should go white though.
I mean, there's some great set pieces in this, though. Set design, makeup, again, great job.
It's a great looking film. Really.
I just don't particularly care for the story.
No. And at 2 hours again is this one?
Probably.
This one feels longer than 2 hours.
Yeah. Oh, it's probably worth noting that the studio claimed it didn't make enough money to make a sequel, which they decided to make this one after the first one.
Yeah.
And the first one didn't do as well when you compare what it made from its budget.
No.
But it's also believed that this one got stomped out the theatres, I guess, by The Dark Knight, because this came out 2008. In America, it was July 11th, 2008.
Yeah.
Then The Dark Knight got released on July 18th, 2008, just a week after. So that is a possibility. However, for the UK, this didn't come out until the 20th of August.
Right.
So I do wonder in that aspect. I never looked at when it released in other parts of the world, but it had made its budget back, I believe, or near its budget, by just US and Canada's intake from this film, from ticket sales,
Right.
which I found quite impressive.
Yeah.
So if maybe they'd released this film in August everywhere else around the world, it might have done okay.
Maybe.
But I believe people were still watching The Dark Knight at that time.
Probably.
Because it was one of them where people were going back for repeated viewings, or I don't know if you remember, but like Avatar had like a weird statistic where due to its profits and ticket sales that I think like 75% of the world should have seen Avatar or something weird like that.
Yeah.
There was a weird statistic like that to Avatar. I can't remember now,
Yeah.
but I'm pretty sure there was a stat like that for Avatar, which you can look up if you are interested in knowing what that was.
I will say that they did a video game as well, Science of Evil.
Well, yeah. Did that actually tie into this? It doesn't, does it?
That doesn't tie into these either.
Right.
But again, same cast. Ron Perlman, Doug Jones.
Right. I didn't realise they
someone like
actually had the voice cast return.
Yeah. And it
And
had
now there's
a
a-
similar look to the Mirror Business as well.
Yeah.
But again, unrelated.
And now there's
Weber Weird.
Weber Weird. Weird spelled with a Y, though.
Yeah. Which has a very comic book look.
Yeah.
Looks pretty good.
Yeah. So we're on to...
Yeah, Hellboy 2019
Okay, I'd appreciate a prophecy with more relatable stakes.
is directed by Neil Marshall, written by Andrew Cosby, and stars David Harbour as Hellboy, Mila Jovovich as Nimue, Ian McShane as Professor Broom, Sasha Lane is Alice Monaghan, and Daniel Day Kim is Major Ben Damier. They're the main ones.
Yep, that was Daniel Day Kim's third comic book role.
Yeah.
Yeah. He has a part in Ang Lee's Hulk in 2003.
Yeah,
And he's got a part in Spider-Man 2.
nice.
I think he's one of the scientists at the thing that Otto Octavius is displaying.
Yeah, he is. Anyway, the synopsis for this one is caught between the worlds of the supernatural and human, Hellboy battles an ancient sorceress bent on revenge. This one had a budget of 50 million and it grossed $55,065,289.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
I know people were already hating this one before it was released, though, just for the fact it weren't Del Toro or Ron Perlman.
Yeah, they hated it on that already. And they were really banking on the R rating for some reason.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And it maybe would have crossed more if it was a 12A.
Yeah, and I admit there's a lot of stuff in this where like kids probably couldn't see that.
I mean, the creature designs in this, I think, are actually creepier,
Yeah,
which is cool.
and they really try and do lean into the art
Yeah.
to help with that, but I don't think it helps much, and it's a bit of a shame because I actually prefer this one.
Did you say the director? Because Neil Marshall, he's got horror roots because he made Dog Soldiers, which is a brilliant like creature feature werewolf movie.
Yep.
He did The Descent, which seems to have its cult status now and a big name for horror fans.
Yeah. Did like episodes of Constantine as well.
I forgot he'd worked on Constantine, because while watching this, I was like, he'd do a great Constantine film.
Yeah.
I think he'd worked on some Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
I think Neil Marshall did a great job at directing this film.
Definitely.
I know he's not a fan of it due to interference and stuff, but apparently the producers had the final cut of this film, not him.
Yeah.
So I don't know how it could have changed from what he was doing as well in terms of how it got cut,
Yeah.
which is a shame. And Andrew Crosby wrote this, and I never looked at what else he wrote.
He was the creator of The Town Called Eureka TV series.
Oh, wow, that's going back a bit, isn't it?
Yeah.
That was like a sci-fi original or something, no?
Yeah.
I forgot.
2006 to 2012. But
Yeah,
you don't really have much to him.
but in terms of cast, I think David Harbour's a great Hellboy.
Yeah, I really liked him as Hellboy.
Yeah.
Probably just as much as Ron Perlman. Really.
Yeah, I like the fact he plays it a little more teen angst.
Yeah.
I feel the humour fits when it comes from him a little more than what we were getting in Hellboy 2 anyway.
Oh, yeah. I remember you saying you really liked Ron Perlman's line delivery in the first Hellboy. And
Yeah.
the humour really works, but in the second one, not so.
Don't know. It felt a little forced.
Yeah.
He's got a great design as well, this Hellboy, I think.
I really
His
like
face looks a little more monstrous.
Yeah, I really like his design.
And I believe that credit should go to Joel Harlow.
Right.
On this one, I couldn't find who was specific for Hellboy, but he was the special character and makeup designer for this film. So I'm guessing that would be all them sort of characters,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool. And when we talk about creature designs, I think the witch, the Baba Yaga,
Yeah.
great design in that weird little house on the chicken legs.
Yeah.
We actually get a proper Baba Yaga in this.
Yeah.
In your face, John Wick.
Yeah. I like the fact Ian McShane just went off and found real Baba Yaga
Yeah.
after working on John Wick.
Speaking of Ian McShane, he was friends with John Hurt, who was the previous Professor Broom.
Yeah.
They met in their film debut in 1962 on The Wild and the Willing,
Yeah.
and then worked together a couple of times since on 2009's 44-inch Chest, which is like a British gangster film, and 2014's Hercules, which was a comic book adaptation of a Hercules mythology. Yeah, it did star The Rock, didn't it? Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah.
Sadly, though, about Hellboy design is very early on in the film, he goes to investigate a missing BPID agent,
Yeah.
and it leads into a luchador wrestling thing,
Yeah.
and he has to wrestle the guy. But while he's waiting for the wrestling, he's got his hand on the ropes or on the ring side, and it's a close-up shot, and you can see his hand, and it allows you to see the shadow around his wrist. So it's obvious like a gauntlet thing around his forearm, and then a big shadowy thing around. Could never see a seam with Ron Perlman's Right Hand of Doom design compared to this one, and that upset me a little.
Yeah.
But that was my biggest flaw with this film.
It was still a good looking.
I still like the
And
design.
yeah.
I just think they should have been a little more careful with camera angle if that was how the hand was
I think
designed.
it kind of a bit more square in appearance.
Yeah, around the gauntlet. But you seem to have more dexterity with it
Yeah.
compared to Perlman. But I guess you would if you've got more room around your wrist.
Yeah.
You said Mila Jovovich played Nimue, if that's how it's pronounced.
Remember now.
The main witch, anyway, that we see get cut up at the beginning.
Yeah.
And she apparently foresaw this film being a failure, but hopes it could become a cult classic further down the line.
Yeah. I think for some Hellboy fans, like the comic books, they do actually appreciate
I
it.
kind of prefer this to the previous two.
Yeah.
I think I've got a lot of nostalgia for the first
Yeah.
Hellboy. But she also wanted to work on this because she was apparently a fan of Deadwood and Stranger Things. So she'd get to work with Ian McShane and David Harbour.
Yeah.
Each work on one of those shows.
Yeah.
And then we've got Sasha Lane, you said, as Alice Monaghan.
Yeah.
She's an American actress, and she seems to do a lot of indie stuff. I'd seen her in Hearts Beat Loud, which is a film I swear I bring up too much on this podcast. Can't think how I've normally brought it up.
I don't know.
But she plays a role in that, and she was in The Miseducation of Cameron Post, was it called?
Something like that.
Which was a pretty decent indie drama as well. But she hadn't done many films prior to this, and she's playing, well, her character in the film is British anyway. She plays it with an English accent.
Yeah.
But her character in the comics is apparently a red-haired Irish lady.
Yeah.
And I find that weird because obviously we're changing like race and ethnicity, I guess,
Yeah.
for that character. Yet Daniel Day Kim's character, Major Ben Daimio, his character in the comics is Japanese American.
Yeah.
It was originally cast with Ed Skrein in the role, who people will know as Francis from Deadpool, and I think he was in Game of Thrones as well. But he dropped out when he learned that the character should be Asian, and I just found it weird that they then cast Daniel Day Kim and he plays it with a British accent,
Yeah.
not American. I just thought that was pretty odd. But he's a really good part in this.
Oh, yeah.
One of the highlights, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of the highlights, and having Brian Gleason, Donald Gleason's brother and son of Brandon Gleason, play Merlin. Great stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Yeah, I do agree that Daimio is a good character. I like the team dynamic with him and Monaghan as well with Hellboy.
Yeah.
I think it's a bit more interesting than what we had in the Del Toro one.
And she is actually one of the girlfriends from the comic.
Yeah.
In this, I don't particularly feel they're getting a relationship, a romantic one, as such at this point.
No.
But they clearly have a bond that feels like they could get closer, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, because I like how Alice Monaghan actually seems to respect Hellboy.
Yeah.
And sees like the good in him. Damien, he kind of dubious of him.
Yeah, because he doesn't particularly like the supernatural creatures, doesn't he? He sees them as monsters, and he's clearly been attacked. He's got a disfigured face that gets brought up a couple of times that he won't really talk about.
Yeah.
Which does get explained eventually.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And I do like McShane's Professor Broom.
Yeah.
He does seem like a loving father, but in comparison to John Hurt, he does play it a bit colder.
I don't know, because there's a scene, I think it's near the beginning, and he's like,
shaved or something.
yeah, and he's like, you're very handsome.
Yeah.
Or something like that. And it's like, you're just saying that to make me feel good or something like that. But like, I feel it's kind of genuine.
Yeah.
Like, you know, there's a clear care about Hellboy's like mentality there.
Yeah.
Which I quite liked.
Yeah. I do like the relationship though.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I feel like they're a bit more playing to dynamics with characters on this one.
Well, there was reports at the time that McShane and Harbour were rewriting lines as it was filming, which was causing conflict with Neil Marshall.
Yeah.
And I know David Harbour, after this film, when he saw it was a flop, called Ryan Reynolds to ask how he dealt with the flop because he knew about the Green Lantern thing.
Yeah.
And called for advice of what to do, which I'm a fan of the Green Lantern comics, and I don't particularly like a lot in that Green Lantern film, but I wouldn't say it's a bad film. My problem with it is it feels more like an MCU entry than an actual Green Lantern film should.
Yeah.
Whereas this, I think, is actually a pretty solid adaptation from what I've read.
Yeah.
And there's a great fight sequence where he takes on like 3 giant troll things. That's a great scene.
Yeah.
It's such a great scene. And I like the fact none of these Hellboy films actually establish just how strong Hellboy is.
So he can take a beating, and you wonder how much of a beating he can actually
I think
take.
it's in this. He gets like fully penetrated through the chest by a sword or a blade or something. It goes straight through, and you think, Christ, he's not getting up.
Yeah.
We do get Lobster Johnson in this though, and he's a comic book character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The church.
Yeah, who people will recognise as Sandman, I guess, from Spider-Man 3.
Yeah.
He's done some other great stuff, but I can't think of anything.
I don't know. He's in a great drama film with Dennis Quaid.
Yeah.
I think they play brothers.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I mean, Lobster Johnson's only a small part in the film, because we get Hellboy's origin again.
Yeah.
But very briefly now, and it's a little different. But they've actually brought Rasputin and Cronin there.
Yeah.
Because they're there in the comics.
Yeah.
And I think there's the guy with 3D glasses there. But then instead of putting the Torch of Liberty there, they've clearly substituted him with Lobster Johnson.
Yeah.
Which I thought was pretty cool. And then he's brought up then in, is it the third? Like well, people say there's 3 post-credit scenes, but there's not.
No, there's only 2.
There's the actual concluding scene, which I don't think should be the concluding scene. I think it should be the post-credit scene. It's like an epilogue, I guess. And it's like, here's their next mission. It teases Abe Sapien.
Yeah.
Then we get a mid-credit scene, I think it is.
Yeah.
And I think that is the Lobster Johnson one, isn't it? And Lobster Johnson shows up and he's like, your dad loves you, something like that.
Yeah.
And then Hellboy's like, I love you, Lobster Johnson.
I love that.
Which is a great little scene, but I think that should have been the very end of the film and then the other scene. And then I can't remember what the other scene is.
The other scene is the Baba Yaga.
Oh, saying she'll get revenge.
Yeah.
Just to go back to the Ed Skrein thing about declining the role, apparently that was the first time a white actor has actually left a high-profile film or role, apparently.
I know Daniel Day-Kim thanked him and appreciated what he did.
Daniel Day-Kim's great in the role. I just find it odd that he's British when he didn't need to do the British accent.
It's because they moved the story to Britain, so the characters are English, and I think they wanted him in a similar location. That's why, for whatever reason, she couldn't be Irish as well, which I think's a bit stupid.
Yeah, I've got it here. Although the name was accidentally left out of the credits, Douglas Tate portrayed Grugash on set during filming. The credit omission will be rectified in the home video release.
Yeah.
But that's like a monster creature that's going through and voiced by Stephen Graham.
Yeah.
Who does a great voice.
It's very good.
Yeah.
He's a fun character.
I think so. Because he kind of keeps cropping up throughout the film, doesn't he? He's like one of your main antagonists, I guess.
Yeah, he's like the lackey of this film.
Yeah. He's your Cronin of the movie. Something that this film does do, actually, that I don't think it did as well as the first Hellboy film. Hellboy has like his full demon form, and his horns just grow out like to full length again, and he gets like a little flaming crown. In the first film, he snaps them horns off, and it feels quite visceral and like some effort in his like head has to come down. There's a good like bone crunching snap from it. And David Harbour has a similar scene in this, but it feels very much like he's just sat holding the horns on, waiting to pull them away. It don't feel like there's any give or real breaking there. It just feels like he's lifting them away from his head to reveal some broken horns, and I don't think that's done as well as the first Hellboy. And in fact, that's maybe worse than seeing the little shadowy bits around the hand for me, thinking about it. I've got two things I don't like about it.
I thought you were going to say that this one doesn't feel like it has much of a visual style, but that's because they wanted to step away from the superhero-esque look.
Yeah.
So I think they wanted to try and make it feel more like believable and a real world instead. And I think they kind of accomplished that, but to a lot of people, they just don't really see it as that. They should kind of think, oh, this looks bland.
I don't think it looks bland at all, because I think you're paying too much attention to what the characters are saying and doing in this one, more so than in the Del Toro.
These ones to me feel more like real characters. This one kind of feels more like a lived-in world than the Del Toro ones. They do actually feel like this is a movie or whatever. Yeah.
I did just see something that reminded me about the full demoned up version of David Harbour's Hellboy. They made his jaw bigger and lowered his brow to make him look a little more monstrous, which I thought was a cool touch, because they don't do that with the Ron Perlman one. No. They just leave him with bigger horns and a flaming crown.
Yeah, and the flaming crown I think looked better in the Harbour one as well.
I'm not sure. I don't think I have a favourite out of them, but I definitely preferred watching Perlman rip his horns off.
Yeah.
It actually felt like it was hurting, and there was something there when he was breaking them, as I said. On the David Harbour, it feels like he's just lifting them away.
And it's not a close shot of it either. It's like a full body shot.
Yeah.
And there's not very much in it.
I would trade Golden Army in for a sequel to this. I really would.
Yeah, this one deserves a sequel because I think everyone does a great job on it.
Yeah.
I do like the team as well. I do think some of the effects stuff is a bit off, but it's not too off-putting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the CGI stuff. And I think it's because you do just get to see it out in daylight or whatever. You know, it's just out in the open. It's just like you just can't accept this is a creature from this world or whatever.
I mean, for the most part, the special effects on this film I don't think are that bad.
They're not too bad now, but I just think there's something about when you know it's CGI and things like that, and obviously creatures and things like that, they just come off as a bit cartoonish. But I don't think they look bad. I think they look how they do from the comic.
I was going to say, the comic isn't trying to elicit any sort of really real world visuals, I don't think. It's a very simple design.
Yeah, and a bit cliche in a way as well.
Yeah.
So I don't really mind it. I do like the look of this film. Like, my minor gripes with it aren't really anything, I don't.
Yeah.
To be fair, I think it's a pretty solid film.
Yeah.
I think the reason why it didn't do well is because they lent into R-rated.
Most likely.
Although the story kind of offers a lot of that. I don't know if they could have toned it down in a way. Maybe they could, just to get it a PG version.
Yeah. Is that all for this?
I was just going to mention music by Benjamin Wallfish. Name might be familiar because he did Alien Romulus this year.
Right, okay.
Well,
not familiar to me.
Right.
I saw Romulus, but I mean, the name isn't familiar.
No.
I never went to look up the music from that film.
Right. Well, he did Blade Runner 2049.
Okay, so he's very good at reboots.
Yeah, it's chapters 1 and 2.
Okay, reboot.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat, again, reboot.
You got anything original there listed for this man?
Did Lights Out and Shazam, did The Flash.
Oh, Lights Out's really good.
Invisible Man, A Cure for Wellness, and then the movie that you're really looking forward to, Kraven the Hunter.
Okay, I wouldn't say I'm really looking forward to it, but I'm quite intrigued by it. And I like the trailer.
Yeah, my point was that Benjamin Wallfish just seems to have a lot of different stuff under his belt already, I think.
I thought you were going to say he does a lot of tacky stuff, like them singing fish that you mount on the wall.
And Blade Runner 2049, I'm not really keen on the movie, but I remember a lot of people really like the score on that.
Yeah, but it should have been Johan Johansson on the score on that film.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, we're not using your score. It sounds like original Blade Runner.
Yeah.
And that upsets me.
Yeah. Then the cinematographer was Lorenzo Senator.
Oh, I never actually looked up the cinematographer on this one.
Yeah, I haven't really done that much. The only notable film was Ghosts of War.
The
Brenton Thwaites
and
Alan Richardson, and Theo Rossi.
Yeah.
I thought it was a pretty good film.
Quite a decent modern horror, to be honest, but it lost it, I think, at the end. But
cinematography on that one,
I think it's what it needed to be.
Yeah.
I think he's one of them cinematographers, by the sounds of it, then, that he's not particularly trying to capture a particular style of aesthetic. He's just trying to capture what needs to be said and seen.
Yeah.
Like a more naturalistic view from the films you've said anyway.
So I'm a bit curious on what he'll do with Red Sonja, because it's apparently attached to that.
I'm quite looking forward to the Red Sonja reboot.
Yeah, don't know why.
I don't. I'm not a big fan of the original film.
You know, it's got Arnold Schwarzenegger like rolling round in water with like a crocodile.
I don't care. I'm not a big fan of the Conan films with Schwarzenegger either.
You know?
Not really, no.
I enjoy them. I do prefer the Jason Momoa.
Well, in the animated series, his parents were stoned.
Yeah, instead of killed.
And there was snake men.
Yeah, instead of savages.
I do think it's a damn shame that this didn't get a sequel.
Yeah,
but I don't think the new Hellboy will actually be able to beat this.
No.
Mostly just because it's going to have to be a really low stakes seeming story for its low budget.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's going to interest many audience viewers. And the fact it is low budget, people already seem to just hate the design.
Yeah.
I don't think it's so much the design they're hating as the cinematography.
Yeah.
Because it's going very retro filmmaker kind of thing. It looks very B-movie influence, which is pretty cool, I think.
Yeah.
Have you seen the actual title card, the reboot that's coming out this week?
I don't think so.
I can show you an image because someone shared an image online. It's not great, is it?
No.
For those that can't see, it's a very simple, it doesn't even look like a copyrighted title font.
No.
It's a very simple red word arty thing over the top of an image.
That's the real thing. It does feel fan film.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just a C with a closed brackets, not a copyright C.
No.
And then somebody pointed out that they spell productions with a V instead of a U. And someone's trying to say that's a typo, but someone just said that it looks like it's trying to pay a homage to the golden era horror flicks. So I'm guessing they're going 50s, 60s maybe. I don't know what you would call the golden era. But looking at that, I would say 50s, 60s. Yeah. And I did read apparently that it is set in the 50s. Did I say to you? Or
Yeah,
60s?
yes, it is apparently set in the 50s.
So this title card featuring single old-timey, slightly campy serif types of font kind of suits that production and frame.
Yeah.
And the production with a V isn't a typo. It's alluding to the Latin alphabet, obviously, where the V was used for a U.
Yeah.
Which obviously they would then put two of those for a W, like they did with Vivitch.
Yeah.
If you want to say it like that, or Witch.
Yeah.
Which I thought was pretty cool. So that to me shows a sense of attention to detail to the era and just a vibe. So it's like storytelling within just its design.
Yeah.
Which has me looking forward to seeing what else we're going to see in this. Because obviously it's called The Crooked Man.
Yeah.
And I'm quite looking forward to seeing what the Crooked Man's going to look like. Just how crooked he really is. Maybe he's a straight up kind of guy and he's not conning anyone. But no, I'm quite excited for Crooked Man, and I just thought I'd share that with you now while I had that information at hand. Because I thought that was a good comment on what you could see in the title card.
Yeah.
Sorry, we jumped to the new one that we've not actually seen from 2019, but I had nothing else to say for 2019. Is that all for this?
Yeah.
Sweet. Sign us out.
So that's the end of the show. Thank you for joining us this week. And if you haven't already, click like and subscribe. A glowing review would also be appreciated. We are cynic_critique on X and Instagram. Links to those and more can be found in the show's description. Remember to join us again next week as we remain on Earth and in the present, moving away from the threats of the supernatural and towards sci-fi as we discuss the Terminator trilogy. Thank you and goodbye.
Goodbye.